Here we are, learning more about quadrilaterals. We're going to finish answering the questions on this page. So we're going to just answer the first one. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with, remember this, two sets of parallel sides. Two sets of parallel sides. Let's answer the next question. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with only one set of parallel sides. I'm going to write this word sides underneath here because I don't want to extend past the blue line. Only one set, looks like a scary number one. Only one set of parallel sides. Let's answer about a rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram, so I already know it has two sets of parallel sides with, should we say this, 4 right angles. That was really easy to find. There's a couple different things you could be writing on these lines, but this just helps us narrow it down. A rhombus was a parallelogram with, remember a rhombus doesn't have to have 4 right angles, but it does have two sets of parallel sides, and it has all sides congruent. Congruent, remember, means equal in length. All sides congruent. Let's go down here with a square. So a square, this is pretty cool if you follow the chart. So it basically is, a square is a shape that has 4 right angles, two sets of parallel sides, and what's the other thing to be a square? I'll just look right here. 4 right angles, opposite sides parallel, all sides are congruent. A square is a rectangle with all sides congruent. And that is why a square shows up here twice, because a square can also be classified as a rhombus, right? Well, it's not just a rhombus with all sides congruent. I already know that it has to be congruent because of that. So what else in this line needs to be said about a square? Let's back it up. Follow this line right here. So a square is a rhombus. That's a parallelogram. That's a quadrilateral. So we know a square has two sets of parallel sides, all sides congruent, and 4 right angles. So that's why all squares are rhombuses and all squares are rectangles. Okay, they're both of those, but it's just a little tricky. So I wish I would have in my diagram showed a square inside of this little rhombus right here. In fact, I'm going to add it to my journal. You should too. Because all squares are technically rhombuses. But not all rhombuses are squares, right? That's what part of understanding is here. Oh look, that's part of the check your understanding. It says explain why all squares are rhombuses, but not all rhombuses are squares. That can be really confusing unless you just think of it basic like this. All squares are rhombuses because they have all sides congruent and two sets of parallel sides. But a rhombus doesn't have to have 4 right angles, and a square does. So that would be why that question makes sense. Okay, what we're going to do next, this is going to be really fun. I would like you to turn the page of your journal, and you're going to, on the left-hand side, you're going to be cutting out this little, I would call it a chart, I guess. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to be gluing in all of these little squares. So take some time right now to find some scissors and to cut out page 350. Sorry, it took me a while to find my scissors. And what I want you to do, I think I just dropped one of those, is I want you to just cut out the chart and our writing. So don't worry about the questions on the back. I'm just going to stay pretty close to that. And starting with quadrilaterals at the top. This is a really great way to explain it in addition to the other things we've already tried to explain and learned it that way. It's good to have multiple representations. So I just need that chart, and you can throw the rest of those scraps away. I need the chart that you're going to put on this side of your journal. And then you're going to write on the bottom of it, see the shapes to the right. So you're going to get that glued in. You can pause the video whenever you need to. Make sure you get it glued and not covering any of the holes in your journal. I might give this a title, so I would put it kind of in the middle. We'll maybe write at the top of this, classifying quadrilaterals. Remember, a quadrilateral is purple. So it'll be kind of fun to go back through with our colors. The trapezoid, Miss Fisher's favorite, was blue. I think parallelogram was red. Isn't that right? Yeah, parallelogram is red. Rectangles are orange. This is good so that we match up our colors on the other side. Squares, which are down here. Squares are in two places, don't forget. Squares are at the bottom, and oh, I guess they did only mention once. Sorry, it's just that it gets mentioned twice right there. And then what's the last one? Rhombus, which was green. Okay, so that's good for you to look at it like that. And then I'm going to turn the page over. And the reason why I'm going to make you glue in all these little shapes is because it matches it will help us understand this classification later when you look back at this journal to review, or when you use it in the future, hint, hint. Okay, so I'm going to turn it so that you can kind of see what I'm looking for. On the left, I have my classifying quadrilaterals, and then I have all of the shapes. Okay, so if I were to open my journal like that, it would make sense. So on here, you need to glue these shapes in order from A to T, and go ahead and when you're done gluing the shapes in there, then you can be done with this journal entry. So I'll just kind of flip them over to show you. I'm not going to record me gluing every single thing in, but I think it would be good for you to make sure you're doing it in alphabetical order. So again, I'm looking for the letter A. It's probably in these first ones. There they are. Nope, I have B, C, D, E. So I can maybe start to the side here, but you're going to want to make sure, I don't know how many wide you can go. I bet you can only go 3. So maybe I just better do A, B, C up top. And then do D, E, F, right? Miss Fisher's missing her letter A right now. I'll find it. Don't you worry. Anyway, there it is. Letter A. So you're just going to glue them in there in your journal and make sure they all stick down really well. When you are finished with doing this journal, make sure to log in and complete the Think Central, and also to follow any directions that are given for what else to do today. Great job hanging in there, learning about quadrilaterals. Make sure that you understand a quadrilateral is a shape that's closed with 4 sides. A parallelogram is a shape that has 4 sides, has opposite sides congruent, opposite angles congruent, and opposite sides are parallel. A rectangle has all of those things in addition to 4 right angles. A square has all of those things, and in addition to that, they have all sides are the same. A rhombus has all of those things except for it doesn't have to have right angles, and a trapezoid can only have one set of parallel sides. Okay, finish gluing all of those in, and then complete your 8.14 assignment on Think Central. Okay, I know this is long and it's one extra video, but I just had to get back on here and show you what happened after I started gluing. I started running out of space, so you will want to watch this video hopefully before you glue and everything, because what I did was I started with 3 by 3 by 3, and then I cut the bottoms of these from JKLM. I cut them so that they'd be skinnier on all the rest of these so that they would all fit. Then I went 4, 4, and 3 so I wouldn't cover up the hole. Also, gluing it was getting super annoying, so I switched to using tape so that I could just run strips of tape down, because that was definitely annoying. So try to fit all of your shapes on one page. If you have already started to glue these before you watch this video and you went on to the next page, that's okay, but I'm recommending that you cut them to make them all fit on one page. All right. You can pause the video to get them done at that point, but you do need to see one last thing that I chose to do on the previous journal page that I think is going to help. So pause the video, if you need some more time. But if yours is already glued in or taped down, then you can flip backwards to where we glued in this diagram that we cut out. Mine's coming up on the side right there. I'm going to glue it back in. But, oops, I've got glue on the side. What I did do was add this description at the top, and I think you should too. First of all, make sure it says classifying quadrilaterals and that you've underlined it in purple. And then it says this: use the shapes to the side, and I drew a big long arrow, and it says next page. Use the shapes to the side to further classify the quadrilaterals. So on the next page, you can see, I'll draw it with a purple arrow actually, you could look over and see on the next page all of those shapes. So I'm going to prove that again. It says use the shapes to the side to further classify the quadrilaterals. Then under the arrow it says next page. So when I flipped it over, if I had my journal open, you would see all of that with the instructions and then all of the shapes. Okay? So again, make sure they all kind of fit on one page if you can. If you already glued or taped and you had to go to the next page, that's okay too. But if you can fit them on there, that is better. All right, now you can finish your journaling and just complete the assignment on Think Essential. Thanks, everybody.